Welcome to Watch Mojo, and today we're taking a dive into the post-apocalyptic gaming world that is Fallout. We won't be including Fallout 76 in our list today, however, but it is time to press play on our journey into the radioactive wasteland, and we're starting with some iconic characters.
When it comes to the post-apocalyptic world of Fallout, there's no shortage of interesting personalities.
War does not determine who is right, only who is left.
Welcome to WatchMojo.com, and today we'll be counting down our picks for the top 10 Fallout characters.
We all want a slice of the pie too, and aim to take it by force.
For this list, we're taking a look at those characters we feel are the best and most memorable from the Fallout series, with consideration for the casts of each game.
The description matches. Bald head, scar, reputation for dangerous mercenary work, but no one knows who his employer is.
Given the player-guided nature of the games, we're excluding player characters from this list.
If you want me back, we need to establish some ground rules.
Number 10, Mr. House, Fallout New Vegas. Hibernation and detached management are the way of the future, as it were.
I won't spoil the rest by talking out of turn.
Having accumulated control of much of Las Vegas prior to the Great War of 2077, Robert House then spent decades in a hibernation chamber, awakening in a post-nuclear world.
What have you done?
From there, House went about rebuilding New Vegas, making it a haven for gamblers, yet maintaining singular control. What stands out most about Mr. House is his absolute faith in the system, taking issue with the philosophies of the other factions.
No need to worry about the general, by the way. He'll be held responsible, publicly disgraced. 36.5% probability of suicide, by my estimate.
He will go to great extremes to protect his beloved Vegas, for good or ill.
This is just the start, you see. This is where it all begins.
Number 9, Charon, Fallout 3.
And now, for good or ill, I serve you.
A hired gun is loyal as long as the money's good. Such is the case with Charon, a ghoul bodyguard working for the bartender in the Ninth Circle bar.
Let's just say, well, he's a loyal employee.
When encountered, Charon walks a fine line between contract-based loyalty and faint displeasure with his situation, unless the player obtains Charon's contract.
So, I am no longer in his service. That is good to know.
At that point, his sense of morality comes to light, as he'll look down upon people who cross moral lines. Yet, he's enough of an honor-bound professional to not act on his feelings until his contract ends.
All right, let's go.
Number 8, Marcus, Fallout 2.
The world's moved on. You want to hear ancient history?
Initially a member of the Master's Army from the original Fallout, this super mutant would come to co-found the community of Broken Hills.
Then, other people started following us. Guess they figured if they weren't safe with a mutie and a steel knight, safe just wasn't going to happen.
Marcus's role in Fallout 2 was twofold: to aid the Chosen One in finding the Garden of Eden creation kit, and to serve as a perspective on the views of mutants.
Long story. Want it short, or the whole thing?
While in his early years, Marcus maintained the zealous attitude imparted by the Master, by his later years, he softened into a more amicable personality. His compassionate style of leadership is truly inspiring.
One of these days, I'm hoping we can trade with the rest of the wasteland. No more fighting, just get along.
Number 7, Fox, Fallout 3.
Of course!
Speaking of super mutants, here's one who defies expectations thoroughly. Being one of the first created mutants of Vault 87, the being eventually known as Fox worked hard to retain both his moral code and his intelligence, unlike other mutants.
I can hardly repay your kindness while waiting back here.
Unfortunately, this caused Fox to be alienated from his kin and confined to an observation cell, until he's freed by the Lone Wanderer.
Finally! Freedom!
Everything from his recollection of his struggle to stay sane to his civil and cultured nature helps underline Fox's intriguing nature. It also helps that he's versatile in all types of weapons, big or small.
Getting warmed up.
Number 6, Dogmeat, Fallout series. Oh, Dogmeat, how we love you so. This canine companion of the Vault Dweller initially takes up residence in Junktown, being introduced as a terrifying presence. However, upon being recruited, Dogmeat proves to be a steadfastly loyal, if single-minded ally, attacking foes with great force and following the player on their quest. Though the original Dogmeat is said to have died, he does gain many descendants also named Dogmeat in the later Fallout games, continuing this charming legacy.
Let's go, pal.
Number 5. 3 Dog, Fallout 3.
I am 3 Dog, jockey of discs and teller of truths.
The DJ's in the house, and he's speaking his mind no matter what.
This is 3 Dog! Ow!
Fortunately, the Galaxy News radio host 3 Dog is benevolent in nature, seeking to balance out the propaganda-fueled programming of the Enclave with his own embrace of free speech.
Yep, guilty as charged.
It certainly helps that 3 Dog is an energetic host, filling his broadcasts with sharp observations and witty dialogue.
Everyone ready for the Capital Wasteland's latest news? Me neither.
And when approached by the Lone Wanderer during the events of Fallout 3, 3 Dog is more than willing to offer information about the Wanderer's father, James. Keep the spirit alive, good sir.
He was here at Galaxy News. We had a great conversation. He's a real stand-up guy. If you want to know more, you're gonna have to contribute to the good fight.
Number 4. The Master, Fallout.
I must digest this information. One moment.
If malevolence has a name, it's the Master.
I am no villain.
You have no idea what I or
The Unity
is about.
Born Richard Moreau, this victim of the forced evolutionary virus soon rose to power as the leader of an army of super mutants.
Of course.
Mutants are best equipped to deal with the world today.
Nothing can quite capture the level of cruelty and detachment from humanity that the Master embodies, going so far as to capture and mutate entire caravans.
You will pay for your insolence.
Pay! Yet, he's also disturbing in physical appearance, consisting of a grotesque face attached to computers with its flesh and speaking via media sampling. Few villains are as skillfully designed as this.
Without any proof, I'm afraid I can't believe you. Now you will join my army as a mutant, or you will die.
Die!
Join.
Number 3. Ulysses, Fallout New Vegas.
If war doesn't change, men must change.
For this man, there will be killing until the score is paid. Ulysses once served Caesar's Legion before leaving to join a budding settlement known as the Divide, only to barely survive the Divide's destruction after a package activated dormant nuclear weapons.
Either way, the Divide giants are awakening.
Haunted by the disaster, Ulysses sets about reshaping the world on his own, while retaining complicated feelings about the Courier, the person indirectly responsible for destroying the Divide.
Both the weapon to kill a nation and the strength to do it.
His introspective tendencies, coupled with his obsession with the Courier, lends him a great deal of intrigue.
You destroyed a nation taking its first breath. A place that could have been my home.
Number 2. Harold, Fallout series.
Hello there, smooth skin. The name's Harold. I help keep this town running.
Ah, the bitter taste of long-term tragedy. This, in large part, defines Harold, once a citizen of Vault 29 who was mutated by the forced evolutionary virus.
Sure wasn't born this ugly.
After first taking the form of a ghoul, Harold soon had to deal with a tree growing out of his skull, which he named Bob.
His name's Herbert. I talk to him when I get lonely. Just kidding. His name's Bob.
Perhaps in response to his increasing difficulties in life, Harold maintains a dry sense of humor and a kind disposition.
God, I love that joke.
Whether helping to run a ghoul town or being worshipped by a cult as a tree, Harold's good nature shines through, tragic though he may be.
Would you please kill me?
Before we unveil our top pick, here are a few honorable mentions.
A neutron walks into a bar. How much for a drink here, anyway? To which the bartender responds, for you, no charge.
Never seen any other synth like myself. There's the older ones that are dumb as rocks and all metal, and there's the newer ones that are almost human. I'm somewhere in between.
I don't know why, but I like you, boy. Something tells me you're all right. So welcome to Megaton. Just holler if you need something.
Do you know how much more you can get done when you're not constantly looking for places to urinate? It's quite a lot, I can tell you.
I'm quite pleased you were able to make it. The trip was not what I had intended, but serves as an adequate test of your abilities.
Number 1. Yes Man, Fallout New Vegas.
Oh! Hi again!
Simple in nature, this AI program is nevertheless lovable.
Probably because I'm programmed to be so helpful.
Acting as the assistant to Benny, leader of the chairman of New Vegas, Yes Man underwent reprogramming that enabled him to do as he was asked. Yet it came with a catch. Yes Man cannot refuse inquiries or instructions from anyone.
Wow, that's amazing. You can murder Mr. House whenever you want.
Thus, if the player so chooses, they can rely on Yes Man's determined nature and complete acceptance of orders to secure the independence of New Vegas on their own terms.
Wow! Mr. House had quite a setup here. I can access his databanks and view telemetry on every Securitron on the network.
To top it off, Yes Man is among the most amicable and well-mannered denizens of the Mojave Wasteland.
You did a super job wrapping things up, and I'm not just saying that because I have to.
Do you agree with our list?
You are as smart as your dad.
What's your favorite Fallout character?
Alright, you might want to crack open an ice-cold Nuka-Cola for our next video. That's because we're ranking the best Fallout games.
Welcome to Mojo Plays. Today, we're looking at every Fallout game ranked. Number 9. Fallout Brotherhood of Steel.
Back in line, slaves. I can't sell you if you're dead, but I'll shoot you in the back if you try to run.
The franchise's first foray into the 3D era is better left forgotten. Released on the PS2 and the original Xbox, Brotherhood of Steel hardly keeps a thing that actually makes the two classic RPGs so good. It was watered down into an action-based adventure with mostly hack-and-slash gameplay, though it was still played from a top-down perspective reminiscent of the old isometrics. Players took on the role of a new recruit of the Brotherhood of Steel, but what followed was an incredibly bland and linear story. And linear is one of the worst things a Fallout game can be. Rather than tackle deep and interesting themes, Brotherhood of Steel simply swears at you any chance it gets to trick you into thinking it's mature.
Come back when you've cleaned out all the rad scorpions.
Number 8. Fallout Shelter. At E3 2015, Todd Howard dropped a bombshell. Not only was Fallout 4 going to release in just a few months, but a mobile game, Fallout Shelter, had just launched on the App Store. This charming game lets you become the overseer of your own vault, and it's up to you to keep humanity alive in the increasingly hostile wasteland. For what it is, Fallout Shelter is great. It knows exactly what it needs to be, and it's even received plenty of content updates since its release. It does have a few microtransactions, but this is easily forgivable with the addition of new mechanics and even quests. Constructing your vault can be a project that lasts for years. Number 7. Fallout 76.
Welcome to Survivor Stories. I'm Dasa Ben-Ami, a responder.
An online Fallout was something that had been toyed with for a long time, but at launch, Fallout 76 failed on every level. There were no human NPCs, almost no story, and it was full of glitches that made it totally unplayable. And worse, unlike Bethesda's other notoriously buggy games, because 76 was online, it couldn't be fixed by modders. The only thing saving Fallout 76 from being the absolute worst Fallout game is that Bethesda has stuck with it in the years since its release, including finally bringing humans and actual quests to the game. It's still not as good as any of the single-player RPGs, but as an online game, it's not so bad anymore. Number 6. Fallout Tactics Brotherhood of Steel.
War never changes.
A Fallout RTS game is an interesting idea, and it would be easy to write off Tactics on the assumption that it just wouldn't work. But actually, Fallout Tactics is both a great RTS game and a great Fallout game. Once again, the focus is on the Brotherhood, but their militarism and access to advanced technology make them the perfect faction for RTS. But you're not playing as either the West Coast or the East Coast Brotherhood. It's an entirely new and less xenophobic faction that genuinely wants to protect wastelanders and stabilize the ruins of Chicago. With a long and interesting story and a wealth of new game mechanics, Tactics is an overlooked gem. Number 5. Fallout 4. 7 years after the last mainline Fallout from Bethesda Game Studios, and the series came back with a vengeance, though it couldn't quite measure up to most of its predecessors. It had just as many hilarious and engaging side missions, but yet again suffered from a main story you'd rather ignore about synths taking control of the Commonwealth. Worst of all was the incredibly oversimplified dialogue system where you just didn't know what your character, now fully voiced, was actually going to say. This was such a misstep, it was rolled back in 76. But Fallout 4 did drastically overhaul the combat, providing the most fun and exciting gameplay the series has yet seen. Number 4. Fallout 3.
I'd imagine it's quite dangerous. I'd be careful if I was you.
This was the game that truly made Fallout 3D, translating the original game's mechanics, like the VATS and leveling system, for a new generation. Fallout 3 has some issues, namely its non-stop crashes and lack of iron sights, but it was good enough to turn an entirely new set of players onto the franchise, players who have stuck with Fallout ever since. The lone wanderer is cast out of their isolationist Vault 101 to search for their missing father, and eventually finds themselves caught in a far larger conflict between the two powerful factions with advanced technology. The fact that the Enclave and the Brotherhood are both fighting for a water purifier means you really feel like you're giving hope to the capital wasteland, or perhaps you're taking it away, depending on your choices.
I won't forget what you've done here. No one will. Thank you.
Number 3. Fallout.
We've got a problem. A big one.
The game that started it all, the original Fallout, still holds up today. Its UI design might be outdated, but once you make your character and get to grips with how to play, you're in for one of the best RPGs of all time. Playing as the Vault Dweller, you've got a very simple mission. Leave the vault in order to find a replacement water chip, or everybody in there will die. This simple quest will take you across the American Southwest, meeting all kinds of people who will remain staples of the Fallout universe forevermore, including the Brotherhood of Steel and the Super Mutants. Number 2. Fallout 2.
The old discs speak of an item called the Garden of Eden Creation Kit. It is said it can bring life to the wasteland.
The original game struck gold, and the sequel kept going to even greater effect. With the Master's super mutant army gone, it was time for a new faction to rise up on the West Coast, the Enclave. This was their first appearance, introducing them as a group made up of the former United States government, now intent on rebuilding America by force. This time, you're the chosen one on a hunt for a Gek to help you save your home, Arroyo, from a dangerous drought. Though Fallout 2 didn't improve or even particularly change much from its predecessor, its story was even better, and it added things to the Fallout lore you still see in the more recent games.
Find the Gek. Be our salvation.
Number 1. Fallout New Vegas.
Truth is, the game was rigged from the start.
With the Fallout IP in the hands of Obsidian, a studio made up of many of Black Isle's ex-developers who worked on the first 2 Fallouts, the series reached its all-time high. New Vegas took players to the ruins of Vegas itself after getting shot in the face during a routine package delivery. Mr. House, the NCR, and Kaiser's Legion all want control of the city, and many more factions are closely involved in this conflict. With difficult moral choices and no easy answers, it's entirely down to you to decide who should have Hoover Dam at the end. It's nothing short of a miracle that Obsidian made the game in just 18 months, and New Vegas isn't just the best Fallout game, it's one of the best RPGs ever made.
Anyway, it's a right peaceful town, and I reckon it's as fine a place to settle as any.
Okay, let's face it, surviving the Fallout wasteland isn't easy, as there's plenty of formidable foes out there. Well, here now are the toughest enemies and bosses to beat.
These frightening menaces will come in all different shapes and sizes and pose an immediate threat to your survival.
Welcome to Mojo Plays. Josh here. Today we're delving into our picks for the hardest enemies and bosses of the Fallout series. For this list, I'll be considering the battle stats of these baddies, including their health, damage, speed, and tactics used against the player. To clarify, bosses come from scripted events and must be defeated to progress a storyline, whereas enemies can be found wandering the wasteland doing their own thing. Non-canon bosses, such as the unkillable Liberty Prime or Gojira, who is cut from the main game, will also not be included. With all that said, which of these adversaries gave you the most trouble? Number 5 for the enemies, Legendary Cazador. Likely the biggest offender at getting players to soil their vault suits. If you fought a single one of these things in the Mojave, you know exactly why it's on this list. Cazadors are based off of the real-life Tarantula Hawk Wasp, which are 3 separate creatures that I believe never should have been combined. If you don't want to sleep tonight, read up on how they reproduce. Back to New Vegas, the legendary variant must be fought in a pitch-black cavern, and since it's one of the few airborne enemy types, you're almost guaranteed to miss a good handful of your shots. Stat-wise, this legend can deal 120 damage in a single swing, with a lasting poison effect 3 times longer than a rad scorpion. Even if you cripple them, they only become more terrifying when crawling towards you with alarming speed. Cazadors don't take any extra damage from headshots, probably because they were created by Satan, and at 400 health, even the best flamer can't kill it fast enough for my liking. Sure, there are other enemies with higher health than a Kaz, as we'll see in a minute, but the awful sight and sound of these critters are war on a mental and virtual front. Number 5 for the bosses is the Master.
So what shall it be? Do you join the Unity, or do you die here?
Join!
Die!
This chunky box of meat and wires is the final boss of Fallout 1. This cult leader meets doctor meets computer appears to have gotten way too into PC building. Pun intended. While not the most complicated of boss fights in the series, the former Richard Moreau is rightfully way stronger than anything else in the first game. At a respectable 500 HP, which is still meaty for us in the modern games, expect a long fight here if you're not well prepared. Longer still if you can't take out the super mutant reinforcements he calls in every 2 turns. All the while, firing at you with Gatling lasers. All that said, due to the Master's incredibly high intellect, he can be reasoned with through speech interactions, plus, due to his limited weapon range and weakness to pulse grenades, a player can outsmart him with the right know-how. Enemy number 4, X-42 Giant Robo-Scorpion. If you thought giant scorpions were scary on their own, just wait till they shoot lasers! Pack your energy weapons, everybody! Weighing in at 3000 health, dishing out 200 damage per pinch, and a meaty 200 plus damage atomic laser to top it all off. And did I mention it gives off radiation damage with each blast? Yep, Dr. Mobius's favorite toy from the Old World Blues DLC is the complete package. Keep your distance from this thing and pray for critical hits against its armor-clad body and EMP shield. Thankfully, the Forbidden Zone dome offers plenty of cover from the stinger blasts, and its attacks are telegraphed enough that a careful courier shouldn't have too much trouble getting behind something. Folks teching into the robotics skill will be rewarded by being able to disable it for a short time, but don't expect the X-42 to go down without a fight. All that said, you'll still need buckets of ammunition or external help to wear it down. Boss number 4, Legate Lanius.
I shall wait for you on the battlefield.
Caesar, or Caesar's infamous military commander, who is more than willing to play dirty to win. Not only does the man behind the mask hit for just short of 100 damage, he also has 5 incendiary grenades to purge rival players. The monster of the East, as he's rightfully known, can whip out a unique healing powder to tank your damage, and he's a whopping 80% faster than the player. If you choose to go toe-to-toe with this guy, you gotta beat him at his own game while playing by his rules. Despite Lanius' mythical deep lore, tales of never losing a battle in his life since age 12, that won't stop him from running and hiding during your battle. Once his health is below 40%, he will flee to heal, calling in goons to fire upon you, during which all of his limbs will be restored to 100%. My god.
I shall make a cape of your skin and your skull.
With an unreal 920 health, he's the tallest human character in Vegas, and for fun, he can't even be disarmed. It's safe to say that the developers wanted this guy to be remembered, and much like the in-game characters that speak of him, this Ambassador Butcher is one to be feared. Enemy number 3, Mythic Deathclaw. You already know it, the Deathclaw had to be on this list, purely for its legacy of tyranny. These beasts have been the hard mode of single player since Fallout 1. Stronger than the unique Rar Deathclaw is the Mythic variant. These things come right from hell to dish out massive damage in record time. With a swipe intent on cutting your playtime short, don't feel bad to perish to its 350 melee damage heavy attack. It happens to us all at some point. They scale with player level, are at least twice as fast, have numerous resistances, and over 1,300 health. If you've seen one, it's probably already too late. They'll always live up to the name, Deathclaw. Boss number 3, Ulysses.
In case I could not kill you, the marked men would flood this place, cut off your escape.
This pretentious SOB and final boss of the Lonesome Road DLC chucks grenades, whacks you with a stick, uses endgame weapons, and brings robots to a gunfight that constantly heal him. Basically, the biggest pain in the neck since that one time you got shot in the head. Big U is the only human character with 1,000 plus hit points, 1,030 for the record. and is a perfect 10 in all special stats to boot. Imagine fighting your own fully leveled character at the end of the game. That is the only thing comparable. Here's some more OP fun facts of his. He's escorted by a medical eyebot that heals him faster than a stim pack, cannot be knocked down, constantly spawns new robots unless the player manually turns them off, can shoot for over 100 damage with his anti-material rifle, and can become invisible with stealth boys. My advice? Tell this guy to take a hike and throw him over the railing Emperor Palpatine style.
If you seek to anger me, words won't be enough.
Number 2 for the enemies, Enraged Fog Crawler. This saltwater monster will certainly make a meal out of you. Ordinary fog crawlers are known for their brilliant resistances against bullets and energy weapons, plus complete immunity to radiation and poison. They're fairly indistinguishable from their weaker counterparts at first glance, so we can't really blame the Deathclaws for trying to go head-on-head with one of these and losing. Bring armor piercers or straight up nukes if you want to stand a chance at cracking this crawler's shell. The enraged variant scales with the player's level, so it'll always be a battle of tooth and nail. They only wield a decent 140 melee damage, but the over 2,200 health and 4,000 points of damage resistance give this lobster enough meat to tank all of your hits while ripping through your health bar.
Your ride's over, Muty. Time to die.
Boss number 2, Frank Horrigan. He who awaits you as the final boss of Fallout 2. Legend says he's laughed off plasma fire and tore a Deathclaw in half with his bare hands. Frankie Boy is without a doubt the perfect soldier. This power-armored super mutant yields unheard of credentials, especially for the time. At a whopping 999 health and a perfect 10 in all special skills, he literally towers above the hostiles of the earlier games. There's really nothing this machine for war can't do, and I know Mr. Horrigan would still be a challenge in the gameplay of today's titles. If you dare fight him, note his ability to attack several times per round, with unique weapons such as the End-Boss Knife, which take no ammo and hit for nearly the highest damage in the game.
You're not a hero. You're just a walking corpse.
Of course, being a mutant, Frank is immune to rads, and your only true hope is to bring lots of explosives if you want to stand a chance. This boss is the kind of old school hard where the devs didn't pull any punches. Frank wants you to die, and the devs are here to make it happen. To many longtime fans of the series, he'll be remembered as the ultimate final boss, because seeing this guy go limp after beating him fair and square is a true achievement.
A well-placed shot may not always do the trick.
The hardest enemy at number 1, legendary Bloatfly. The mother of every fly to get stuck in your house, this giant bug has claimed countless lives due to its unexpected and unsurpassed might. The enormous acid spitter fires plasma-like projectiles and slashes for ridiculous damage. Tests have been done by fellow players, and this thing easily beats multiple Deathclaws in one-on-one combat. The raw stats reveal the truth of an airborne, 2,000 HP demon with a godlike 300 damage projectile, equal to that of Alpha Deathclaws. And it gets worse, a melee with 450 damage in stinging power. Wowza! This thing packs a punch like no other. With 3 stings, any boss is dead. My only explanation is that someone gave this bloatfly the power of friendship, because what is usually a C-tier enemy has become the apex predator, not to be outdone by any other apocalyptic horror. Number 1 for the boss to end all bosses is the Scorchbeast Queen, an endgame boss the likes of which were once unimaginable. Once spawned, Her Majesty calls upon waves of fellow scorched enemies, and all must be killed with only 30 minutes if it wasn't hard enough. With the largest move pool on this list by far, Mama Scorched Beast has 6 methods of attack, some dealing way over 200 damage, and is always encased by a radiation cloud, causing constant damage reduction. Who would have guessed a gargantuan bat would sit at the highest universal health of 32,767. It's no wonder that 8 or more players are recommended, nay almost required, to fight this royalty. To top it off, she has resistances across the board, including that of fire and cryo. Plus she's sure to take to the sky, Skyrim style, if you're dishing out a little too much pain for her liking, activating a crop dusting attack that you just have to take. Undoubtedly, due to the multiplayer aspect of 76, this queen was designed to be the boss to end all bosses, If you aim to cross this thing off your bucket list, good luck, and bring plenty of backup for your war in Scorched Earth. Power armor, heavily recommended.
Unfortunately, she can't save you from every situation.
Okay, we've met lots of baddies in the Fallout franchise, but what about familiar friends? You know, trusted allies. Well, lucky for us, there are plenty of good companions.
Anywhere until I get what I came for.
Yeah? And what's that? And who are you, huh?
Welcome to Mojo Plays, and today we're taking a look at our list of the 10 best Fallout companions.
I love her so, nothing else like her anywhere you go.
We've met a lot of familiar friends throughout the Fallout franchise, and these were our absolute favorites. Which character would you be proud to deem a companion? Craig Boone.
My wife's dead. I want the son of a bitch who sold her.
Craig's story was one of many reasons why Fallout New Vegas is the most revered in the franchise. First off, the guy is one of the best shots in the entire game. Lord knows most of us weren't exactly dumping points into rifles. Secondly, he has a simple yet gripping story surrounding his wife's disappearance that leans hard into Fallout's more tragic side. And should he die at any point, you'll have the chance to read a heartbreaking letter that serves as a sad end to his story. For as hilarious as Fallout can be, Craig was a good vehicle to tell something that was more dramatic.
They told us to shoot till we were out of ammo, so that's what we did.
Dog meat. Of course we gotta include dog meat on this list. It's dog meat. You know, a vault dweller's best friend. Look, we aren't exactly going to choose a specific one, they're all good boys. But the best part about dog meat, aside from the animal companionship, is just how helpful he can be. In addition to attacking enemies in combat, he can sniff out resources and special items that you may have overlooked. Besides, the little puppo looks adorable in just about whatever armor you deck him out with.
I love her so, nothing else like her anywhere you go.
Lily Bowen.
Jimmy! Little Jimmy! My, how you're grown up! So good of you to come visit your grandma.
Lily definitely leans into the weirder, more surreal aspects of Fallout. We all know super mutants to be loud and murderous psychopaths, no different to the fantastical orc. So imagine our confusion and disbelief when we came across this sweet old lady taking care of her horribly mutated cattle. But one benefit of having her around is that she can show you a thing or two about stealth. We just worry about the things that this Leo might be telling her to do.
It's my medicine, dearie. It keeps me calm, but it makes my memory go all fuzzy. That's why I only take my dosage every other time. That way, at least I remember their faces.
Nick Valentine.
10 tapes recorded by that hooligan Eddie Winter. Word is, they got stashed in police departments around the Commonwealth. When you find them all, you bring them to me.
Nick Valentine is one of the more fascinating characters of Fallout 4. A robot detective? Scratch that. A robot detective who holds the memories of a completely different being? It is a strange predicament to be in, and his desire to avenge the person before his creation is a noble and perplexing one. What's more fascinating are the thoughts his story brings to the table. Questions of destiny, grudges, past versus present, and the dilemmas of using robots like synths to preserve those who have long since passed. And hey, those stats he's got, they ain't too shabby either.
Everything I ever was belonged to Nick. I'd hoped with Winter gone, the last hint of that old world snuffed out, I could finally be free.
Fox.
It can't be. Either you are quite real. I am going quite mad.
Here we have another example of not all mutants being horrible beasts of the wasteland. Fox provides an interesting glimpse into the world of a mutant as he was casted out by his own kind. Shockingly, this has actually had a positive effect on his mind as he thinks clearly and more reasonably than his brethren. He also serves as a good balance for those who are into ranged weaponry. Nothing is funnier than seeing him rush in while you're firing away and turning your foes into minced meat. Rose of Sharon Cassidy.
Well, keep those eyes up and turning, or I'll set them spinning.
Got no time for gawkers, or anyone looking for something I ain't selling.
Although Cassidy may not have stats as impressive as other Fallout companions that came before and after, she's a companion we'd love to have around as much as possible. Even after all the terrible events of the war and her caravan getting ambushed by a competitor, she still maintains an attitude that's real, blunt, and occasionally funny. Plus, she can quickly become a deadly ally should you choose to go through her set of quests, as her perks focus on buffing her damage threshold and damage with guns.
Feels... I don't know. I guess I feel relieved. I don't know what I feel.
Eddie.
Navarro Outpost Scientist, I am glad that EDE has reached you. You will find several databanks of information on this machine.
There are plenty of robots to recruit as companions or temporary allies in the Fallout games. Eddie is a prime example of why they're worth your investment. Sure, this iBot doesn't exactly have a story to invest in, but the perks are worth having him around. Enhanced sensors will let him detect enemies further than most characters, which is a good way of preventing a raider from flanking you. Camaraderie, on the other hand, which was only featured in the Lonesome Road DLC, sees both you and Eddie gaining bonus stats from collecting circuit boards used to further upgrade him. This little guy can do big things, so don't underestimate him.
I'm with the followers of the Apocalypse. We're much more liberal about the sharing of technology than those Brotherhood people. Bring your robot to us. We'll see that whatever information it may have on it is used for the greater good.
Marcus.
Right. After the Master and the Vats were destroyed, I wandered a bit. No place to go. One day got attacked by this fool wearing power armor.
We're really showing the super mutants some love, and Marcus is deserving of that love. In all honesty, he is one of the coolest characters in the franchise. No, it's not because of the minigun. Not to recycle the same thing we like about Fox, but Marcus is notable because of how it shows the problems mutants face. While most of our interactions with mutants are through fights for survival, Marcus is trying to rebuild and help bring civility back to his kind. He wants to change things and work with those who haven't succumbed to mutation. And most importantly, he's a leader who cares for his allies.
And don't forget, I knew the folks involved. They were the best humanity had to offer.
Piper Wright.
Sometimes it feels like the only things I've got in life are Nat and the paper. Having someone I can count on, someone like you, it's meant a lot to me.
Piper quickly shows that she doesn't care if the world has been blown to hell. She'll take on anyone and anything in the fight for truth and justice. And that's hotter than any ounce of TNT we've dealt with. Getting back on track though. Piper has a level of tenacity and bravery few can match, but she's also someone we can easily relate to. There are times where we felt isolation hit a little harder than most days, and when it comes to searching for truth, life can get frustrating sometimes. Piper's story is unfortunately still relatable today, and it's why she is one of the more resonating aspects of Fallout 4.
From what I've heard, they take whatever they want, especially if it's high tech. They just might have the muscle to give the Institute a run for their money, but let's just say they have their own agenda.
Veronica Santangelo.
Well, a bunker, if you want to get technical. I think it sounds more interesting my way. But I'm not there much anymore. I'm usually out here picking up food and supplies for my family, whatever they need.
This sweetheart is just the best companion in the entire franchise. Or maybe that's just my love for Felicia Day showing, who knows. Anyways, this woman braves the Mojave Wasteland every day alongside the Brotherhood of Steel and wants to learn more from others. She's someone who wants to feel some restoration within her soul as a human, and she wants to help humanity feel that same revival. Gameplay-wise, she's great at crafting things at a moment's notice and beefing up both yours and her melee damage. She's a keeper through and through.
If I work out of there, I'll still be able to keep tabs on Hidden Valley if I needed to. I know that route like the back of my hand.
When it comes to modding, creativity knows no bounds. Trust me on this. Here now are Fallout's funniest, strangest, weirdest, and most inventive mods ever created.
You and your husband don't seem to agree about why your daughter left.
We both want to find her. The world out there isn't a place where you want to be alone.
Welcome to Mojo Plays. Today, we're looking at the 10 funniest Fallout mods. Who says the nuclear apocalypse has to be boring?
In my moment of glory, I'm gonna get ya! Ooh, yeah!
Buzz Lightyear Paladin Dance by Soranova, Fallout 4. Paladin Dance is often a larger-than-life hero of the Wasteland, with the stringent sense of right and wrong, unwavering devotion to the Brotherhood, and a deep hatred of Emperor Zurg. Sorry, we mean the Institute. Or do we? With this mod, you'll reskin Dance's iconic power armor to be a little bit more Toy Story. He'll be purple, white, and green. He'll talk about clearing the wastes of synthetic Scourge, and you can date him if that's what you're into. Just make sure he doesn't find out he's actually a toy in disguise. To the Commonwealth and beyond. Younglings by Akaboom, Fallout 3.
Just give it a shot, Mongo. You'll see plenty of my adult-sized stones when I'm pissing on your grave.
Younglings is not actually the name of this mod, but if we put the name in the title, YouTube would get upset. So blame them. It lets you truly become a merciless, low-karma monster by committing the ultimate atrocity, getting rid of those annoying kids in Little Lamplight. If you weren't able to pass the speech check to get McCready to let you into the town without doing Big Trouble in Big Town, you were probably itching to put him in the ground. No thanks to how relentlessly he insults you. You can finally do that with this mod, though it won't remove him from Fallout 4. You'll just have to kill him again. Bob Ross's Happy Little Moon by Nozart, Fallout 4. What was that Nobark said about the moon? Well, it's not quite Lenin, but this mod will give you a heartwarming overhaul to the moon in Fallout 4. Moons in video games are often just static images, which is why it's pretty easy to swap the image out for another one. In this case, a smiling picture of Bob Ross. His presence is definitely a comfort when you're roaming the lonely wastelands trying to find enough aluminum to fix your power armor for the dozenth time. It's great to know that while we're down there in the Commonwealth killing endless legions of super mutants, he's watching over us. Milkman by Tess Tudini, Fallout New Vegas.
Let's get high!
If you've ever been lying awake at night, unable to sleep because you've never achieved your childhood dream of becoming a milkman, then this mod is for you. It's actually a huge overhaul of New Vegas, reworking many game mechanics and creating new ones to boot. You're a milkman, but more than that, you can run your own dairy business, look after your cows, deliver milk around the Mojave Wasteland, harvest cows for meat to sell as well as milk, and wear a fun milkman outfit while you complete the new quests. Guard your dairy farm with heavy ordnance and a mercenary army, and wait for the caps to roll in.
The sailor said, quote, ain't that a hole in a boat?
Taylor Swift Pip-Boy Background by the XZI, Fallout 4. Sometimes the best jokes are the simplest ones, which is why changing your Pip-Boy background to Taylor Swift is a winning mod in our book. It's definitely an odd choice. Popular as she is, we didn't realize she was such a hit with fans of the Fallout games. Now, every time you open the Pip-Boy to check your inventory or look at the map, you'll see her staring back at you, though it can make the text hard to read at times. Better yet, the Pip-Boy itself can also be reskinned so that it's hot pink. It's great that the background isn't a blank space anymore. Cadbury Cream Eggs by Compilation, Fallout 4. We already saw a mod that lets you have plenty of milk, but what about plenty of eggs? Well, the Commonwealth already has no real shortage of eggs, since you'll find Mirelurk eggs and hatching grounds all over the place, but if you want something a little sweeter than another Mirelurk omelet, this mod will reskin all those eggs to look like the far tastier Cadbury Cream Eggs. The skin also applies to the inside of the egg when it gets broken, making it look at least a little more appetizing than it does otherwise. However, unfortunately, the eggs are still potentially full of annoying Mirelurk hatchlings. Nobody wants that when they're just trying to eat some chocolate. World of Wacky by Wyderson, Fallout New Vegas. If you thought Wild Wasteland already made New Vegas pretty weird, wait until you see the absurd World of Wacky mod. This mod is famous among New Vegas players for its sheer ridiculousness, adding all kinds of strange encounters and pop culture references. You'll be attacked by flaming skeleton deathclaws, Skeleclaws. You'll be able to enlist Osimo from South Park as a companion, fight geckos in penguin suits, and even dress up Deathclaws in silly costumes. If you've already played New Vegas to death, this will certainly mix things up a bit. Nicolas Cage Paintings by Lemiker, Fallout 4.
We both want to find her. The world out there isn't a place where you want to be alone.
Bob Ross on the moon, Taylor Swift on the Pip-Boy, but what about seeing Nick Cage on every available surface? This mod adds a choice selection of only the finest Nicolas Cage JPEGs to the wall art section of your settlement menu. Before long, you'll be building pointless stretches of wall around your whole town just to have more space for them. You'll build up your whole network of settlements in his image and possibly even open the Nick Cage School of Impersonation. Paintings are certainly a first step toward building a cult to steal the Declaration of Independence. That is, if you didn't already steal it in Fallout 3. Rip a Guy's Arm Off by Kensington, Fallout 4. Have you ever wanted to rip a guy's arm off and beat him to death with it? Well, now you can. You only need to install this mod and you'll have all the arm-ripping, death-beating fun your heart desires. This mod edits the dismember effect and makes it so that if you punch people, you'll pull off their arms, which can then be picked up and wielded like a club if your victim is still kicking after all that. And better yet, it adds another layer to the franchise's notorious cannibal perk, because you can also now cook those arms and eat them. Well, at least it's not raw. Macho Claws by Aaron X AE and Fancy Pants, Fallout 4.
Ooh, yeah! Well, look at this, prima donna!
Some of the most popular Skyrim mods swap out the dragons for something truly bizarre, with one of the funniest iterations being that of macho dragons.
Stay close to the wall! Yeah!
You'll transform the dragons into Macho Man Randy Savage, complete with his voice lines. It didn't take long for a similar mod to make its way to Fallout 4, this time overhauling the new and significantly more intimidating Deathclaws. There's nothing quite like investigating the Museum of Witchcraft in Salem with Randy Savage stalking the halls. But do you really want to fill the Macho Man with bullets? It's shocking that this trend all started with a modder testing rigs, and now it's one of the most legendary mods in history.
Piece of you. I didn't even get a piece of him. In my moment of glory, promises to the Macho Man, didn't you? 'Cause I'm wild, yeah.
All right, it's now time to arm you with the knowledge of the deadliest weapons in the wasteland. With these powerful tools at your disposal, you'll be able to take care of any threat that gets in your way.
Use anything sharp or sturdy enough to swing. Get creative.
Howdy gamers, Josh here. Welcome to Mojo Plays, and today we're examining the most powerful weapons of the Fallout franchise. For this list, we'll be taking into consideration a weapon's base damage and any special effects it may apply. Drawing the line exactly where one gun beats another is tricky, as player builds often heavily affect weapon performance. That said, these firearms are capable of dishing out unrivaled damage when used as intended. Raiders be warned, we're bringing out the literal big guns. What's your favorite tool of the trade to survive the wasteland? Number 10, Ranger Sequoia. Don't make me sing the song, this is truly the big iron of legend when it comes to New Vegas. The Ranger deals a respectable 62 base damage out of the box, with an all-time low, 0.1 in terms of weapon spread. If you're looking to roleplay a cowboy, this thing belongs on your hip. Although even the sneakiest players won't be able to get it into the casino. The Ranger is just that much of a statement piece. Lore-wise, it's only carried by New California Republic veteran Rangers after 20 years of service, so don't expect to find one of these just lying around anywhere. Be you Legion or NCR, the Ranger Sequoia is the spirit of New Vegas in my eyes. Number 9, Turbo Plasma Rifle. the original energy caster from Fallout 1 and 2. This P94 rifle totes great range meets unrivaled damage. Its plasma can reach upwards of 35 tiles, burning soft targets, melting armored ones, and reducing anything else to goo. Hitting for 70 might not seem like a ton at first, but we must account for weapon inflation after all, as enemies in the early games sat at a range of about 60 to 100 health. Even the toughest of ghouls are being one-shot here. With an extremely low action point cost and relatively common ammo typing, there's no doubting its versatility in battle. The Turboplasma rifle is one of the greatest choices to wield in both the series' first entry as well as the sequel. Number 8, Fist of Rar, Deathclaw's Gauntlet. The top tier of melee weapons. Slice through any attempt at defense using the hand of Fallout's most infamous species. Now there are obviously a couple routes to go when deciding to lay down your guns and build your character around melee. Maybe your preference lies in the massive radiation damage of the Adam's Judgment, or the literal firepower of the Shish Kebab and its variants. For us, the armor-piercing abilities of the Deathclaw Gauntlet is just too efficient to pass up. I mean, who needs damage over time when you've already cut right through the health bar in a single swipe? Giving a clean, cool 50 base damage and 97 DPS, feel free to bring vengeance to the monsters that slayed you oh so many times in the early game. A Deathclaw's Gauntlet can remove limbs with cross chops, or easily punch off heads with an uppercut, no matter what the enemy is wearing. Number 7, Tesla Cannon. Become a walking, talking tank with this mere 8-pound energy weapon designed by Nikola himself. At least, in Fallout lore, that is. Getting right to it, 140 base damage, sprinkled with a shock effect, and splash damage to hit multiple targets that can pass through walls, mind you, is the upper end of what I would call overpowered. They're adept at shooting down vertibirds, and what further proof of might do you need than there only being roughly 12 of these weapons to exist at one time? If you see a particularly armored Brotherhood of Steel NPC pull out one of these, it's likely too late for you. It uses one of the rarest ammo types in the game, so there really isn't a reason not to carry one of these in your back pocket. Unless you're a big fan of Gatling lasers, of course. But for my money, it's Tesla's Death Beam all the way. Number 6, Admiral's Friend. Another unique weapon befitting of Captain Ahab himself. This harpoon gun deals enormous damage at greater ranges than a hunting rifle. If you thought the Dragon from 76 was game-breaking, this thing was far too OP for multiplayer. At base, we witness a whopping 150 damage, single shot, only to knock our socks off once again when reading its special effect. The Admiral will always hit for double damage when baddies are at full health. Given that you haven't pulled the trigger, fights are sure to last but a moment when armed with this Fisherman's Friend. It fires once before reloading, but anything surviving such a hit is at risk of death by stubbing their toe. Custom parts like scopes or barbed harpoons ensure not only sneak attack bonus multipliers, but bleeding damage too. Grab yourself one of these with a legendary effect for an ultimate showstopper.
4, 3, 2, 1.
Number 5, Euclid Seafinder. Call down a laser from the heavens to blow up your foes, supervillain style. To obtain the pistol, the courier has to complete a lengthy questline involving setting up an orbital strike satellite known as the Archimedes 2. The Seafinder fires once a day, although only when outside, as pulling the trigger begins an animated sequence signaling your enemy's impending doom. The damage hailing from the satellite beam itself is upwards of 170 damage, with a 50% chance to crit entire groups of enemies. It's the spectacle of this weapon, and more for the show. Not looking forward to rushing that group of raiders? Time to settle the score with this cute little laser pointer. Number 4, Bozar. One of the few beastly big guns from Fallout 2, comically referred to as the ultimate refinement of the sniper's art. It returned to New Vegas gunrunners as an LMG, offering players the ability to become a moving turret of destruction. I'm talking extremely fast reloads, low AP costs, and higher rates of fire. This weapon is every merc's dream. It's solid for mid to all ranges, and won't let you down as a go-to firearm for any altercation. The Boz here spits out 19 base damage bullets for an impressive 285 damage per second output. The upper ends of an upgraded Bozar can double that lethality, more than shredding any monster that crosses you. The numbers don't lie. Still not impressed with its performance in New Vegas. Returning to Fallout 2 reveals its deadly potential. capable here of dishing out upwards of 300 to 500 damage. There's few things that will survive a round against you and your Bozar's armor-piercing properties. Now it may jam on you if you don't take perfect care of it, but we had to include this glow-up of a legacy weapon from the first 2 RPGs in the franchise. Number 3, YCS-186. Take a railgun, a sniper rifle, a heating coil, and the dark magic of coding, Bazoom. You've got a souped-up Gauss rifle and scientific abomination, ready to electromagnetically kill anything you please. The YCS comes complete with long-range scope for guaranteed sneak attack multiplier damage, although even when detected, it boasts the highest base damage of any non-explosive weapon in the game. The anti-material rifle may be a go-to for some sharpshooters, but this microfusion gulper far outclasses it. Enough talk, numbers time. A gnarly 140 base damage, 420, DPS, plus increased accuracy with the aforementioned 3.5 times scope for unsurpassed range. I'll happily carry the unique YCS into battle any day, even if energy weapons aren't usually my thing. Number 2, Alien Blaster.
We've got this area locked down.
Was there any surprise? Various Fallouts include this out-of-the-world sidearm, efficient at disintegrating anything it touches, and when it disintegrates...
It disintegrates! Well, what do you know? It's disintegrated.
Alien blasters are known for their endgame, high-level damage, and their 100%, 100 times critical hit chance. In the case of Fallout 3 especially, you'll be seeing hundreds of damage done for a single shot. So much power in such a tiny sci-fi blaster. You basically become Thanos, dusting anyone who dares cross you. Take caution not to miss and melt a friendly though. That's a waste of expensive ammo. Even back to the very first game, Fallout of 98, this thing delivers in almost every field. Remember when I mentioned 70 base damage was a ton for the early entries? Well, how does 90 sound? Or you know what? Let's critical hit for fun. Obliterating life itself with 360 points of damage. Overkill from beyond the stars.
Creating technological wonders of their own.
What could be more deadly than a gun from off this earth? There's only one thing that surpasses it. A representation of humanity's obsession with destruction. Wastelanders and Raiders, I present number 1, the Big Boy. This aptly named Behemoth of a launcher is the unholy creation of a fat man, explosive dishing heavy weapon that shoots an additional projectile, compatible with the MIRV launcher mod. If you don't already know where this is going, the Big Boy is capable of shooting 12
mini nukes at once.
Someone get Phil Swift, because that's a lot of damage. I won't even bother crunching the numbers with a base damage of 2,691, far exceeding anything close to a gun. 1 or 2 of such a player-killing ammo type as the mini nuke will annihilate almost anything. Times that by 12, nothing will survive. Nothing. Hell, it might even kill my PC in real life. Plus, unless you're facing the wrong direction, you can't miss. Who allowed for this to happen? Has humanity gone too far? Will any other weapon compare in future titles? As it stands, I can't see it being possible. Gosh bless anyone who wields this power. Gosh bless the wastes. And all hail the Big Boy, the one weapon to rule them all.
Part of the fun of Fallout comes with making your own choices. But some moral quandaries are harder than others. Here's what I'm talking about.
Welcome to Mojo Plays, and today we are taking a look at some of the hardest moral decisions in the Fallout series. For this list, we'll be looking at those choices that were tough for first-time players. Whether you were sacrificing the many for the few or the few for a handful of caps, you were probably making a tough choice. Did we miss any of your favorites? Gizmo or Killian?
The name's Killian Darkwater. I'm the mayor of this fine town. And who might you be?
Like a lot of the decisions we're going to mention, it's important to remember that on a player's first playthrough, they can't always be sure what the outcome of any particular decision is going to be. This was super evident in this particularly tough decision in Fallout 1's Junktown. In this divided town, Mayor Killian Darkwater is trying to uphold peace and justice, while the Fat Cat casino owner Gizmo is trying to push for profit, prosperity, and economic growth.
I know Gizmo's behind this, but I need proof. You interested in helping?
You are left with the choice to kill both of them or one of them, the latter resulting in the living leader taking control of the town.
I don't know who you are, but I don't take kindly to strangers walking into my office and accusing me of things they know nothing about.
On the surface, Killian represents good, but Gizmo could have a genuine benefit for the town's economy and the player's pocket. Who did you choose? The Whitewash.
Corporal White? I don't know where he... I never heard of him. I gotta go.
Do two wrongs make a right? Can fire really be fought with fire? Is a bird in the hand really worth an apple a day or something like that? I don't know what I'm saying anymore. In Fallout New Vegas, after a collection of side quests, the player is presented with a problem. A community of farmers were siphoning water from the NCR to help nurture their own crops. An NCR corporal by the name of White was trying to work out where the water was going and was in turn murdered by a member of the farming community. Although the NCR is questionably evil, White, as far as we can tell, seemed like a stand-up guy.
I didn't want to get Mr. Anderson in trouble. He says the West Side needs to be able to take care of itself.
After discovering the community member guilty of the murder, the player is left with a few options. All outcomes either end with a murder being covered up, a murderer running free, or a whole community losing water access. Tough choices. Vault 34.
Well, crops aren't doing so well. I'm thinking it might be something in the water.
Would you sacrifice the few for the many? I bet you would, you monster. Fallout 34 has undergone some substantial interior damage, leading to a leak in radiation that has both turned the majority of the inhabitants into ghouls and also leaked radiation into the water of the nearby sharecropper farms. After pushing through the vault and discovering that in an unreachable and closed-off section of the vault, there is still a family and a vault dweller by the name of Horowitz alive, the player is left with two options. 1. Shut down the reactor and save sharecropper farms, essentially writing a death sentence for the family of 3 and Horowitz, or 2. Reroute power to Horowitz so the family can escape, but leave sharecropper farms doomed. It's the classic trolley problem. Walk away and doom the many, or take action and doom the few. Your call, Courier.
Yes, I believe that, Outlander. We owe you our freedom.
Tenpenny Tower.
How many times do we have to go through this? You're not getting in.
Here's another moral quandary for you. You come to a location where the richest and most elite are squandering a much-needed resource, whilst making sure that the lowest and ugliest members of society don't get a single piece. If you help the rich and elite take the resources for themselves, you'll get yourself a nice little cut. But if you convince the elite to share their resources with the castaways, you receive less for yourself. This is Tenpenny Tower in New Vegas. The tower is the resource, and the ghouls are the ones not allowed inside. The decision seems pretty straightforward, but the leader of the ghouls, Roy Phillips, seems somewhat bloodthirsty. Can peaceful living really ever be achieved?
Ghouls living here? You're serious?
The answer is no. If you decide not to kill the ghouls' leader and instead negotiate peace and cooperative living between the ghouls and humans of Tenpenny Tower, in only a short few days the ghouls will murder and loot the humans, dumping their naked bodies in the basement. Harold.
Glad to see you're finally awake. I can't believe they made you do that stupid ceremony.
In Fallout 3, the now mutated human known as Harold has grown and twisted so badly that he's become rooted to the ground and evolved into a now greatly grown tree. Although his new tree form is fantastic news for the wasteland, he is also suffering a great torture as he can no longer eat, sleep, or do anything except watch time pass as slow as eternity moves. Harold begs the player to kill him, which would in turn save an innocent man from his unending torture. Others would prefer to see Harold grow further and bring possibility of life back to the wasteland. I, for one, burnt Harold so fast his screams were heard all across this great nation. Dance.
I didn't know.
Until Quinlan got that list decoded, I thought synths were the enemy. I never expected to hear that I was one of them.
One of the coolest twists in Fallout 4 came in the form of our futuristic racist paladin Dance. Dance hates synths with all his core. From his eyeballs to his jingle bells, he hates them. Deep into the game, the player and Dance both discover that he is in fact a synth himself. After escaping, the player must track down Dance with orders to execute him. When the player finds Dance, he all but begs us to execute him as he is disgusted by his own existence.
I'm a synth, which means I need to be destroyed.
Now sure, Dance is fairly egregious in his hate towards synths, and he's just kind of the worst. But does he deserve to die? Probably not. Does he want to die? Sure. Do we euthanize our dear Dance as he requests, or convince him that there is still life to live? I don't know, I'm not your mum.
If you stay here, you should be safe.
That's an excellent suggestion.
Who controls New Vegas?
Look, house, Vegas, it's pretty. Got you blinded a bit maybe.
We've hardly got time to explain the events that lead to the ending of New Vegas, so let's cut to the chase. At the end of Fallout New Vegas, the player has to make the decision of who will take control of the wasteland. Almost all the options have pros and cons, the main three resulting in a different speed of progression towards civilization. Mr. House being the fastest, but essentially damning the land as a dictatorship.
To enforce, one must have force, a position of strength.
The NCR being the centralized option, a mediocre and moderately speedy return to traditional America. But it's also the bureaucratic and corrupt NCR, who are really more NQR. And finally, Caesar's Legion, who will incredibly slowly bring the wasteland back to present-day America. They are massive assholes though. Of course, there is the fourth option of independence, which requires you to drive everyone out of the picture by any means necessary. Interesting choices.
And so the Courier's Road came to an end, for now.
Lily's medication.
Jimmy! Little Jimmy! My, how you're grown up!
Lily Bowen has not had a good life. Born in Vault 17, she lives till the ripe old age of 75. These were her simple years. After a raid by the Unity, she was dragged outside of the vault where she saw the sun for the first time. She was tortured and dipped in a vat of forced evolutionary virus, the same virus that turned Harold into a tree. The FEV turned Lily into a Night Stalker, and she was forced to become an assassin for the Unity. When the player discovers Lily, she is deep in schizophrenia, the schizophrenia manifesting as a voice that tells her to do terrible and awful things.
Grandma's sorry about that. Sometimes she gets mad and listens to Leo when she really shouldn't.
The player guides Lily to one of three options: taking her medication at an accelerated rate and forcing her to lose her final memories, those of her grandchildren, which she holds dearly. Stay on her current medication quantity, letting her live her current existence between the two worlds of fog and confusion. Or stop medication, making her go fully feral and become a ravening beast. I wish there was a fourth option where you could just give her a big cuddle and make the boo-boo go away.
Talk to you soon, dear.
The Pit.
Paradise Falls is home to the slavers.
The Pit is an incredibly interesting moral debate. At the center of their world, you have Lord Asher, the man who built the Steel City into what it has become. With the use of slaves, he keeps the city's mills running in order to facilitate a safe city and environment for his wife to study their daughter Marie to find a cure to the TDC disease that has plagued the Pit and the slaves, a disease Marie is immune to. You then have Werner, a slave who is planning an uprising to steal the cure from Lord Asher and bring it back to them to study themselves. Of course, this is after overthrowing the Pit and killing many. On one side, you've got the dodgy Werner, who omits many details. A, the cure is a human child. You don't learn this until you're there and ready to steal it. And B, he used to be a pit raider. He's a big liar. On the other side, you have Asher, who is clearly trying to do something good, but he's using slaves to do it.
We call them workers. Helps with morale.
You know what? I think I'll just play Peppa Pig.
Standing still is boring.
Choosing a faction.
I'll see you in hell, along with the rest of the Commonwealth.
At the end of Fallout 4, you are left with 4 options for the ending. Siding with the Minutemen results in the least bloodshed, with you having to only eliminate the Institute. This does mean you'll have to kill your son, who is kind of an asshole anyway. It is worth pointing out that the Minutemen are, for lack of a better word, very vanilla. Technologically and firepower-wise, they are the Fallout equivalent of untoasted white bread.
I just hope as many people as possible got out. I hate that we had to do that, but they left us no choice.
Siding with the Brotherhood of Steel, the Railroad, or the Institute results in an ending where you have to brutally murder the other two choices. This can be particularly hard if you've spent your time in the Wasteland doing all the quests for every faction, as you now have to walk up to your old friends and shoot them right in their stupid faces. Deciding who dies whilst also deciding who is the best to lead is not an easy decision. All I do know is, you should throw a grenade into your son's bed.
Who knew the Wastelands in Fallout were hiding so many secrets? You heard me. These are the juiciest little secrets in Fallout.
Maybe it's time to give these tired old bones a rest. All right, show me what you've got.
Welcome to Mojo Plays, and today we are getting out the magnifying glass to look at 10 hidden secrets in Fallout games. For this list, we'll be looking at those locations and moments that weren't woven into the main fabric of the games. Things that seasoned pros could have missed that first-time players may have accidentally stumbled upon. Juicy little secrets. Is this your first time hearing about any of these? Elder Scrolls reference.
Stop! You violated the law. Pay the court a fine or serve your sentence. Your stolen goods are now forfeit.
When players think of Elder Scrolls references in Fallout games, they almost always first think of the secret plant found in Fallout 4 that is identical to the Nirnroot from Skyrim. This particular Elder Scrolls reference is a single game backwards in each respective series, with this Elder Scrolls Oblivion reference being in Fallout New Vegas. In the Freeside area, there is a bunch of utility poles, and on one of these poles is a small hidden plaque that simply read TES-04. Small and out of the way, the plaque is simply a nod to the Elder Scrolls 4 Oblivion, even if it is only mentioning its name. In unrelated news, my hometown of Marupna in Australia once unveiled a plaque for their police station that said Marupna Police Station. This has nothing to do with anything, but it's a shame that more people don't know about this. North End Graveyard. Although technically the North End Graveyard is unmarked, it does have ties to one in-game side quest. Still, many players may have missed the booty located within Shem Drown's coffin. Shem was buried in a very shallow grave, so finding and looting his coffin is as easy as 1, 2, 3 copper bars, hell yeah! As well as the copper, there are also 2 silver bars, 1 gold bar, Shem's skull, and Shem's sword. There's also a note ominously referencing the sword. Many players aren't aware that Shem Drown is actually a real-life coppersmith and tin plate worker who is responsible for some significant cultural icons in real-world Boston. His current resting place is located in Boston, Massachusetts, in the general vicinity that the North End Graveyard is located in Fallout 4's Boston. Grave digging. More creepy grave talk to come. This is one of those early helpers, a little, if you know it, you know it, for many players of Fallout New Vegas. Explorers and observers may accidentally stumble upon this as it is located in the starting location of Goodspring. If the player gets their hands on a shovel, they can head to the cemetery at Goodsprings and start digging to get some interesting early game loot, including a silenced 22. But head north of Goodsprings to a rocky alcove and you'll find Chance's grave. Dig there to get Chance's knife. Now you're a quiet assassin. And also a real grave digging piece of shit. The Roach King. Fallout 3 has one of the strangest encounters you'll find in the entire series. Players wandering the wasteland northeast of Minefield have a chance encounter to come across the NPC known as the Roach King. The Roach King changes appearance and gender with every playthrough, so each encounter is a little different. The Roach King sits atop a throne made of Red Rocket playground equipment. You know, like a crazy person, and is always immediately hostile. After fighting them and their legion of rad roaches, the player can find a minigun and a mini nuke amongst their loot. Lucky's. Lucky's is a gold mine for players wanting to do some weapon customization and crafting early on. Totally unmarked on the map, Lucky's is a small grocery store with a friendly scavenger who you can trade with, and a store full of stealable loot. It's important to note that almost everything in here is owned, so you will lose karma. But that doesn't really matter to you, right? What are you, some kind of nerd? Lucky's has a safe, some Nuka Quantum, Lucky sunglasses, which gives +1 luck, and then a plethora of very handy crafting items. Finding this spot will make you feel very lucky indeed. Isabella's Camp. Isabella Proud is a fascinating story within the Fallout lore that many players would have missed out on due to the location of her camp lying beyond the boundaries of the typical map. So the chances of players accidentally stumbling across her camp are very low. Through exploration, you can find the many locations that Isabella references on the terminal at her camp, and you can also find the corpses of her and her research partner, Jason. The terminal lays out an interesting tale of scientists trying to better understand the feral ghouls of Fallout 3, and is vivid in description and passion. Oh, that almost sounded intellectual. Quickly, play a fart sound. Plumber's Secret. Although Fallout 4 wasn't everyone's favorite Fallout, it's undeniable that the world is filled with nooks, crannies, and corners of lore and loot that make exploration feel more alive than any previous entry. One of these little nooks is known as the Plumber's Secret, a warehouse located in Cambridge that upon first glance seems pretty barren. But if players look at the ceiling, they will see plungers keeping a bunch of loot stuck to the ceiling. Simply shoot the plungers and the loot is yours. Another perfect example of Fallout 4 taking the cake on world building.
Yes.
Crazy Cat Cabin.
Full of surprises, aren't you?
At a certain point, a secret location becomes so popular that it loses its secret status completely. This particular location may be the most famous secret spot in Fallout 4, but it feels wrong to not at least mention it. In an unmarked cabin lies the Crazy Cat Cabin. Inside the cabin lives a hermit and over a dozen cats. The hermit sells cat meat and cat outfits. The walls are covered in cat paintings, and the decor makes space for comfy spots for cats to rest so that they can enjoy the apocalypse in style. Serenade Murder. Many players don't know about the weapon known as the Mysterious Magnum, originally held by the Lonesome Drifter who can be found camped out north of El Dorado Gas and Service. The Lonesome Drifter has a harrowing backstory similar to an old western, but none of that matters right now because if you want his gun, you're going to need to shoot a bunch of holes in his body.
Maybe it's time to give these tired old bones a rest. All right, show me what you've got.
The reason this gun is so fun to have on hand is because every time you pull it out of the holsters, it plays its own theme music, which makes you feel like a Western gunslinger at all times. Dev Room. Developer rooms or developer testing areas are nothing new. They're fairly common in Bethesda games, but that doesn't stop them from being secret. If players know the right console commands to input, they can teleport themselves outside the game's typical map to these testing areas, often located deep underground. In these areas, players will have access to every single item in the game, as devs need a place to test stuff immediately. In single-player games, this isn't much of a problem, but in Fallout 76, players managed to find a way into the dev room without console commands, which led to Bethesda having to reach out to players who'd accessed the room and been banned to ask them how they did it, in exchange for a possible account reactivation. That's hilarious.
Well, as we've seen, the Fallout franchise has pretty much everything. What about weird unlockables, though? Take a look.
I will give you another vial when you need it, for your own use only. Do not sell it or throw it away.
Welcome to Mojo Plays. Today, we're looking at the weirdest unlockables in Fallout games. But maybe the real weirdest unlockables are the bugs we found along the way.
I will allow you to talk. Quickly.
For this list, we'll be including items you can carry in your inventory and equip or use in some way. We won't be including random encounters or weird traits. Sorry, Wild Wasteland. Ant Agonizer and Mechanist's Armor, Fallout 3.
What are you doing in here? How did you get past my defenses? Did the Antagonizer send you?
Though the entire franchise has no shortage of weird and wonderful side quests, Fallout 3's The Superhuman Gambit is one you won't forget in a hurry. The isolated town of Canterbury Commons has been serving as the battleground between two wannabe superhumans. There's the Ant Agonizer and her army of mutant ants, and the Mechanist and his army of robots.
But then the Antagonizer attacked and killed someone very dear to me.
By doing the lengthy quest, which involves going between them both and either killing or passing speech checks, you can eventually earn both of their unique armors. They'll each give you negligible damage resistance, buffs to agility and endurance respectively, but will also debuff your charisma stat because you just look so silly.
No human commands the Ant Queen. But as you have defeated my nemesis, I will allow you to talk. Quickly.
Stealth Suit Mark II. Fallout New Vegas, Old World Blues.
We're okay on Stimpaks.
While you can loot and unlock plenty of bizarre things during New Vegas's best DLC, the Stealth Suit is one of the stranger things you can acquire in the Big Empty. It's a tongue-in-cheek reference on Obsidian's part to the overpowered Chinese stealth armor unlocked during the Operation Anchorage DLC of Fallout 3, and potentially also to that game's talking medic armor.
Did you even know you were wearing me?
The Stealth Suit provides you with major buffs to your sneak skill provided you complete Boris's entire high school-themed obstacle course, and it will also speak to you. The inbuilt AI is shy, socially awkward, and will be extremely upset if you die.
I'll miss you.
Lincoln's Possessions, Fallout 3. During the quest Head of State, you'll encounter two factions, a group of freed slaves and the slavers looking to recapture them, both of whom want to claim the Lincoln Memorial for themselves and either restore or destroy it. While retrieving the blueprints for the memorial from the Museum of History, you'll be given the chance to loot all kinds of Abraham Lincoln's most prized possessions. You can pick up his diary, an action figure of him, a wanted poster for John Wilkes Booth, and so on. But the cherries on top are Lincoln's actual hat and Lincoln's repeater, one of the best weapons in the game, both of which you can equip. Return the relics to one of the two factions, or keep them for yourself.
Alejandra says they have a special exhibit all about Lincoln.
Brain of the Dog, Fallout New Vegas.
He's been acting peculiar for some time now. I took him to the followers and had him checked out, and they said his brain is bad or something.
The King's loyal pet cyberdog has seen better days, and after earning the King's trust, you'll be tasked with finding out what's wrong with Rex and curing him. You'll eventually find out that the only way to help him is to get the donor brain of another dog. There are 3 possibilities, and in every case, you'll have to find the dog and put it out of its misery, either non-violently or not so non-violently. The weird part comes after you have the brain, but before it gets implanted into Rex, when you're traveling the Mojave Wasteland with the brain of a deceased dog just sitting there, gathering dirt in your inventory.
You give Lupa a worthy death in the arena, and her brain is yours.
Lifetime supply of mysterious serum, Fallout 4.
But don't worry, you will be rewarded. What Jack has taken from me, I will bestow upon you freely. The gift of immortality.
Bethesda went back to the Lovecraftian well for this long quest about the Cabots. You're given the quest by Jack Cabot and his family, all of whom are mysteriously still young and healthy despite predating the Great War. Eventually you'll find out that their father Lorenzo has been confined to the basement of a mental institution since the 1890s, ever since he merged with an alien artifact during an expedition to Arabia.
I will provide you with a lifetime supply, as needed.
The serum is made with his blood and grants the user eternal youth. But if you take it, you get buffs to damage and strength as well. Saving Lorenzo during the quest grants you a lifetime supply of the mysterious serum. You just have to keep visiting him, and he'll keep giving it to you.
Help yourself to a drink if you like. Jack seems to have done very well for himself, despite everything.
The Naughty Nightwear, Fallout 3.
I'm only gonna ask you this one time. Give me the Naughty Nightwear.
While exploring the capital wasteland near Girdershade, you may have stumbled across a weird audio log talking about a package the owner, Grady, desperately wants to retrieve. Unfortunately, Grady's long dead, and he only leaves you one clue as to the whereabouts of the package. It's in a room marked by a spinning light. You find the room, unlock the safe, and get the naughty nightwear for yourself, a pair of leopard print pajamas. But it doesn't end there, because the lone wanderer will then be confronted by a crazed raider who wants the nightwear all to himself, and he'll fight you to the death for it. Thirst Zapper, Fallout 4, Nuka World.
Let's do this!
Love it or hate it, the Nuka World DLC added plenty of strange quest items, but the Thirst Zapper is something you'll unlock right after the intro as part of the main quest. It's a tiny little water gun that initially seems completely useless, despite the sole survivor being assured that it's a deadly weapon. It turns out that the boss you have to fight has electrified armor, so you'll have to squirt him with the water gun to short-circuit his defenses. You'll later use the gun to win mini-games, and if you find some schematics, you can turn it into an actual weapon. The Cure, Fallout 3, The Pit.
In the pit, you'll be part of a growing army, a thriving industry, and maybe even witness to a cure for radiation.
There's a terrible disease ravaging the ruins of Pittsburgh, and one of your many tasks is to get the cure and save everybody. But there's one catch. The cure, as you eventually discover, is a baby, the daughter of the pit's authoritarian leader Asher and Dr. Kundanica.
This is my daughter Marie. She can be a handful, but my little angel is going to save the city.
She's immune to the disease, and you're given a choice. You can leave the baby with her parents, thereby dooming the citizens of the pit to slavery, or you steal the baby, defeating Asher and freeing the city, but separating a child from her family. If you choose the latter, you'll pick the baby up and put her in your inventory, carrying her to the rebelling slaves in your pocket.
But yes, I suppose the city's future does rest squarely upon it.
Perfectly Preserved Pie, Fallout 4. There's a radiation-free source of sugary goodness waiting for anybody who dares undertake the arduous task of getting a slice of pie. Why is it arduous, you ask? Because it takes dozens and dozens of attempts to stand a chance of actually being able to get the tantalizing slice of pie from Fallout 4's many porta diners. Whether you get the pie or not is determined by a mathematical formula, which takes into account your luck and the number of previous failed attempts at grabbing the pie you've made. If you have low luck, you might have to try over 100 times. It gives you 30 HP once you finally unlock it, and if you want to unlock the pie in real life, there are plenty of fan-made recipes online. Pimp Boy 3 Billion, Fallout, New Vegas.
Outstanding. You have no idea how much this means to me. But I think this little beauty will give you an idea.
It's a real pain in the ass to earn this, largely because it requires completing a certain quest in a very specific way, which can be rendered impossible depending on how many bugs and glitches you encounter. To get the gold bedazzled Pip-Boy, you must complete the quest How Little We Know by either passing some skill checks with Big Sal or with gun smuggler Troy. You then return to Mick and Ralph's in Freeside, talk to Mick, and he lets you have the Pimp Boy on the house. Once you've got it, it's automatically equipped and there's no way to get rid of it. However, there's a bug where characters with the feminine body type won't be able to hold the thing properly, keeping it at an angle while it clips through their arm.
Welcome back, buddy.
Okay, grab your Pip-Boy and load up your laser rifle, because our last video today is what else but the best moments in Fallout.
War may never change, but you still never know what to expect in the wasteland.
Where to begin?
Welcome to WatchMojo.com, and today we'll be counting down our picks for the top 10 Fallout moments.
Hi, human. Why you come here?
For this list, we're taking a look at the most iconic, memorable, and thought-provoking sequences in the Fallout franchise. Anything from simple opening scenes to longer dramatic moments are fair game, so long as they left a lasting impression on us.
I'm hungry.
Number 10, emerging from Vault 101, Fallout 3. What a quietly evocative opening. When commencing Fallout 3, the player is taken through the first 19 years of their character's life, learning to walk, experience a birthday, and even taking a test.
I figure you're old enough for this. Your own BB gun.
All the good times vanish, however, when your dad disappears and the Overseer comes looking for you with his forces.
If anyone can survive out there, it's you.
You naturally escape and exit the vault, only to be hit by the blinding light from seeing the sun for the first time. As the light fades to reveal the ruined yet immense landscape ahead, there's a tangible sense of wonder and intrigue lingering on the horizon.
Just take a look at it first. Go easy.
Number 9, buying Charon's contract, Fallout 3.
You purchased my contract from Azrakal, so I am no longer in his service. That is good to know.
Talk about wanting out of a bad deal. Should players venture into the Ninth Circle bar housed in the underground settlement, they may come upon the ghoul bouncer Charon.
I belong to no one.
Employed by the bar owner Azrakal, Charon is obliged to maintain his loyalty unless the player manages to obtain his contract. Not only does the ghoul willingly join the player in this instance, he takes the opportunity to convey his distaste for Azrakal.
All right, let's go.
Word of warning, don't cross the moral lines in front of this guy.
But now you are my employer, which freed me to rid the world of that disgusting rat. And now, for good or ill, I serve you.
Number 8, entering Nipton, Fallout New Vegas.
Don't worry. I won't have you lashed to a cross like the rest of these degenerates.
The Mojave Wasteland can be an absolutely brutal place. Case in point, when the courier, the player's character, approaches the town of Nipton, they are greeted with awe-inspiring carnage.
They stood and watched as their fellows were butchered, crucified, and burned, one by one.
Bodies are strung up on crucifixes and Nipton's buildings are in flames, with only a few citizens spared, thanks to a lottery.
Yeah! Who won the lottery? I did!
The sense of horror at one's surroundings lingers as information about the Legion faction's ravaging of the town comes to light, making for a clear indication of what to expect.
If you want me dead, just give me 15 medics and I'll f***ing OD for you, okay?
Number 7, Guardian of Forever, Fallout 2.
We've got a problem. A big one.
We're somewhat surprised people don't discuss this one more. A special encounter in Fallout 2. The Guardian of Forever is an innocuous-looking rock formation that your character, the Chosen One, can find. Upon entering it, though, the Chosen One is transported back in time to Vault 13, the starting point in the original Fallout. As the Chosen One goes about the task of destroying the Vault's water chip, one thing becomes clear. We have set in motion the series events with our own hands.
You need to go find us another controller chip.
Number 6, killing Frank Horrigan, Fallout 2.
Your ride's over, Mutie. Time to die.
A final boss should be gratifying and conclusive, and this is no exception. At the end of Fallout 2, the Chosen One and company crosses paths with Frank Horrigan, the super mutant enforcer for the faction known as the Enclave.
You aren't going anywhere from here.
While the ensuing fight is intense, it's Horrigan's demise that's of particular note. He not only falls in battle, but he actually splits in half. Left barely alive, Frank has one last trick up his sleeve, activating the surrounding facility's self-destruct sequence. Now that's a bombastic, if stereotypical, way to go out.
You and your mutie bastard friends are gonna join me in a big ol' mushroom cloud send-off.
Number 5, Liberty Prime, Fallout 3. Accept democracy or flee in terror, apparently. Late in Fallout 3, the Brotherhood of Steel is preparing to launch a full-scale attack on their foes, the Enclave. In a bid to aid their efforts, the Brotherhood decides to activate their secret weapon, the reprogrammed US Army robot Liberty Prime. Armed with dual energy beams and throwable explosives, Liberty Prime marches across the capital wasteland in a truly magnificent display of force, complete with amusing propaganda-filled commentary.
Democracy is truth. Communism is death.
Number 4. Meeting the Master, Fallout.
I don't have to prove anything to you.
True villainy is rarely as fascinating. As part of the main questline in 1997's Fallout, the player-controlled character, the Vault Dweller, must venture into an abandoned Vault-Tec prototype vault, battling mutants all along the way. The Vault Dweller can eventually come face-to-face with the Master, the leader of the super mutant army.
This will be the age of mutants.
From his grotesque appearance to his multiple voices when speaking, the Master manages to be both bizarre and memorable. And that's even before he reveals his plans.
We need one race.
Race!
One goal.
Goal!
One people to move forward to our destiny.
Number 3. Entering Tranquility Lane, Fallout 3.
Oh, someone new to play with. What good luck I have lately.
While searching for their father James, the lone wanderer finds themselves drawn to Vault 112. There, they are told that James must be retrieved from a simulated reality. And it's here that Vault 112's dark secret comes to light.
Were I you, I'd be more concerned with myself at the moment.
The virtual reality sequence, Tranquility Lane, serves as a prison for the Vault's inhabitants, governed over and abused by the simulation's creator, Stanislaus Braun.
I am the creator of this world!
The resulting quest to obey Braun's commands, or disobey and liberate the people of 112, is one driven by player action, and remains unforgettable in its subtle horror. Number 2. The Rocket Launch, Fallout New Vegas.
Have you come to help us complete the great journey?
Shoot for the stars, ye bold ghouls. At the end of the quest, Come Fly With Me, the courier is given control over the launch sequence for a ghoul-operated rocket.
Your arrival here was a blessing. We will remember you always.
After retrieving some parts and listening to a rousing speech, the courier bears witness to the ghouls climbing aboard their vessel.
May the Creator guide my words and help me speak true.
Seeing these oft-harassed beings preparing to travel to a new world, hopeful for a better future beyond Earth, is kind of endearing.
The great journey awaits. To the promised land we go.
Of course, if you're kinda cruel, this can all be cut short with some sabotage. Before we unveil our top pick, here are a few honorable mentions.
I'm quite pleased you were able to make it. The trip was not what I had intended, but serves as an adequate test of your abilities.
I hereby relinquish command and control of this fortification to you. Good luck to you, Mr. Jefferson, and give Sally my regards.
Number 1. Blowing Up Megaton, Fallout 3.
Something tells me you're all right. So welcome to Megaton.
For many players, this is the iconic image going forward. An early quest in Fallout 3 has the lone wanderer crossing paths with Mr. Burke, a man with a simple proposal: destroy the town of Megaton.
My dear boy, I'm very happy to make your acquaintance.
Specifically, Burke offers the player the detonator linked to Megaton's landmark, an as-of-yet undetonated nuclear device.
Release yourself to his power!
Should players take the man up on his offer, they are given a front-row seat to the town's destruction. The lingering mushroom cloud is a reminder that you just killed everyone in that town. Except for Moira. God damn it!
What's with the weird look? Don't you remember who I am? Did you hurt your head in that big explosion?
Do you agree with our list?
We really surprised you, didn't we?
What's your favorite moment from the Fallout series? For more memorable top 10s published every day, be sure to subscribe to WatchMojo.com.
Excellent. Your talents will be
useful.
But first, you must tell me everything about your vault.
All right, well, that's going to do it for this special look at the Fallout gaming universe. Hope you enjoyed yourself. I definitely did. I've been Matt from WatchMojo, and I'll see you next time.